with that, I think we will move towards discussing today's topic, which is the topmost agenda of every senior business leaders in the country as well as around the world: digitalization. Our world was already shifting towards digitalization. Pandemic just accelerated the process and ushered into the fast lane. Many organizations were prepared for this change, and they've been working around digitalization for a couple of years. But many organizations got caught unaware as well. My first guest, Mr. Amarnath, has been implementing digital strategy at Accenture since many years and has been on the forefront of the process. I've met him at various occasions, and he's been always thinking ahead of time. And today we will hear from him his learning during the pandemic and changes he had to do in his program, which to suit the pandemic as such. So without further ado, let me welcome my dear friend and industry expert, Mr. Amarnath Das. Sir.
Hello, everybody. Thanks, Ashish, for the nice introduction. And yeah, it's been a long time that we connected in person, and we would have loved to have this session in person. Hopefully in future, we will get opportunities to do so. Look forward to that. Hello, everybody. I hope you and your family are keeping safe. Stay healthy. Don't let your guards down. We're going through a tough phase of life. So with that, Ashish had asked me to give you a small introduction about me. And as I would have interacted with most of you in some forum or the other, you all would know me. So I thought of giving you an introduction about myself, which is little lesser known about me. So I started my career in early 90s when the recession was at peak and India was trying to establish itself. Few markets were opened up for private players, and we saw the entry of private airlines for domestic come up at that time. Another background to my experience is that due to certain incident in the past, I had decided to settle in Baroda, which I felt it was safe kind of a thing. So I was in Baroda. I didn't want to move out of Baroda, and straight out of college, very energetic, enthusiastic, I joined a process control field instrumentation assignment. And, it was of construction, calibration, and everything. Didn't like much, jumped out of it, went into a software industry for sales, spent a couple of years, and then I did really do well, but I was transferred to Bangalore. So I didn't want to leave Baroda. I quit that job. Moved into telecommunication, IPS, and those days internet service providers was just picking up in mid-90s. So joined them, established as a business manager for the Gujarat. And then, again, they said that Gujarat is too small for you. Go to Bangalore. I quit that job. Accidentally, I got an offer from a travel trade, a TMC. I grabbed that job as a stopgap arrangement because I wanted to stay in Gujarat, in Baroda. So I took up that assignment. But because of my past working in a software and a process control, I was very process driven, and even travel trade was changing. So that company told me, we're not selling ticket, we are selling technology. And in those days, technology was what? A CRS system, we used to call it, okay? Currently, what we call it is GDS. So that was also not available to all travel agencies in those days. So we were selling that. We were selling it to the clients that we can set up an implant for you with a CRS system. You can come and see your booking. You can do this. And that actually helped me, and that fascinated me. I took up that assignment, and things were ever evolving. We were doing paper ticket. People who had by-hearted the fares were supposed to be the top notch in the trade. Otherwise, for international fares, we had to refer to 3 different documents, no automation there, ABC book and read and find the fare. And when GDS came in, I saw my colleagues literally scared of it. Boss, we might get an ADM. So they still referred to the book. The confidence and the trust was not there. So, I took up that. Then came, from paper ticket writing to printing a ticket. People were scared again. We pushed that. And then the straight way things evolved. We started working on, requisition systems and automations kind of a thing. And it was a good journey out there. But unfortunately, again, I was asked to move to Bangalore. So finally, I spoke to my family and I decided that probably Bangalore is our destiny. We moved to Bangalore. My stopgap arrangement career became my longest career. So it's close to 25 years that I'm in this trade now. So that's a little long, but that's about me.
That's wonderful. That's an interesting insight onto your professional life. And quickly jumping on to the topic of today, Amarnath. Before we come to the present situation, I want to understand your digital journey at Accenture in the last couple of years. What were the key takeaways? How was this journey? What did you do?
Yeah, it started off little early. We always want to stay ahead of the curve, and we anticipated few things. So automation, technology, digitization is the key to your success of your travel program. And in most of the forums that I attend on technology, I often say that embrace the technology before you get embarrassed. And this actually helps you automate things, reduce the dependency on individual. I remember people were dependent on so much on individual that I want to speak to particular agent on leave. They used to prefer to wait on calls and take his advice than coming. And we thought it is. So the journey, all companies have that in process. You first thing is, and cost was always the, enhance your cost or rather optimize your cost.
Optimize.
So because of optimizing of the cost, you brought in controls, approval processes were there, and approval was a paper process. You get it signed. You had people, standing in queue outside the approvers to get there, and whenever he's free, they used to get that signed kind of a thing. And they felt that it was again a personal touch. To get that signed, you go and get it signed, meet your supervisors, they sign it. So you get a time to say hello, hi. We digitized that first. Okay, that was the beginning, a decade and a half ago, that we automated the approval process. So we cut on to the human aspect there, a personal touch out there. It was all through automation. Similarly, we moved from implant to outplant. Most of them moved to outplant, to a center of excellence kind of a thing. Now, people again had that touch feeling. We used to walk there. That is not there. Now it is either on the call or through the tools. We enabled the tool for the service providers. And then the issue was we had multiple service providers. Okay. So coordination was tough for everybody. Okay, for car rental, reach so-and-so, for air, reach so-and-so. The coordinates were different. So we automated that. IVR came in too. For telephone, IVR came in. From system, with the click of a button, you could move in there. So these were the initial stages that we did. But again, more than a decade ago, sometime in 2008 onwards, so we took up a T3 program, and T3 was nothing but travel technology transformation. Okay, and we set up our own benchmark. What do we need to do to bring in consistency across? We were a global company working. So we wanted a common level of service across, common platform, touch and feel. So we decided to do in that phase, first phase was that we made it one GDS, one booking tool, one TMC. So you get a common flavor across, whether you take the service here or there. Then came anytime, anywhere kind of a concept. I'm in India, I've got ticketed out of it. I'm outside. If I want to make changes, how to get that done. So those things came in. We also found many things because things were changing. Systems were tough. Each service provider that we used to tie up, they had a different system, different operating system, and integration was a tough thing. We brought in, connection through API or transfer of file using JSON files through Web Connect or Air Connect kind of a thing. And we started that. So we started, and to eliminate the error, it is always good to eliminate the middle person, or rather the individual managing it. So technology took over. It not only enhanced the experience of the users. Initially, yes, there were resistance. One is that, oh gosh, if I make a mistake, the onus is on me. That went away because people got that used to. We introduced online booking tool. Again, the same issue out there. If I make a mistake, everything is on me. We did, to build in that confidence, we did give them a buffer kind of a thing. That, okay, you make a mistake, we take this. For next 3 months, let's get it this. People got hooked onto it. So that's how it is. And then we decided, because things are changing, automation is picking up fast, things are getting redundant very fast. So we need to have a system which is robust enough for a futuristic adaptation, So we then build in our tool, which is a plug and play model. So whatever new is there, if you want to plug in, it's just plug in, and not that you have to build in the whole thing. Every 3 years, you change your systems kind of a thing. So that was our vision, and that is where we came up, and things really went off well for us.
Excellent. So thank you for summarizing the journey. It gives all of us a sort of a vision of what the organization went through. And you were obviously ahead of the digital game. But the pandemic came really hard. And in fact, the second wave was really intense. We all know that. Now, what I wanted to ask at that point of time, while you were so digitalized, what was your experience personally? What were the key challenges? And most importantly, how did you manage those challenges?
A good question. And before I go on to the second phase, I will start with the first phase itself. Okay. Our roles got reversed. We were enablers for travel.
Right.
We were asked to stop travel. That was the first thing that came up. Safety and security of our people is of utmost priority, number one priority. And we wanted our people to be safe wherever they are. And for that, we had to enable many things. In fact, the funniest part is we were conducting, just like people do their fire drill exercise and other stuff, we do our BCP, a tabletop exercise or a dry run kind of a thing. We also have in our contract that each service provider needs to do that once in a year and present it to us with a full different scenarios. And we had practiced many scenarios, but never in our scenario was a pandemic, this kind of a thing, where the entire world was grounded, nothing was moving. And initially was, how do we manage it? First came, stay wherever you are, stay safe. For that, maybe we had to enable few of them, the accommodation. We didn't think that it's going to be this long. We thought it's a 3 weeks, 4 weeks. So we did that. And then realized that, no, it's not a small time. It's a long-term thing that we need to plan. People were not having that much of financial support. So how to convert this stays into a different model where they can sustain, that was another thing that came in. Also, you have a lot of traffic going out, coming in, everywhere when it was stranded. We also had to look into the business. So business should be least impacted. How we enable that if there is a critical thing. We also got into remote work options kind of a thing for our people. Repatriation when started, the issue was that people had to book on their own. with Vande Bharat flight, initial days. So how to enable that? Because that is not in our system. And we had to bring that into it. So if people were booking themselves, how do we track that people are traveling? So we enable that when you book, please send in a copy of your itinerary to this mailbox, and then it automatically gets tracked. So tracking the people and other stuff. So similarly, a lot of things was happening. We also got into a different kind of works then. One was locally also, many of them had problems with their stay because PGs were shutting down. We had to address that because we needed the resource to work. So we made accommodations for them. There were, our car rental, which was ferrying people, started ferrying laptops and desktops to their homes so that they could continue their work. So business continuity was to be kept. So our roles got totally different. And at the same time, because
the travel team got involved in the logistics play of the organization. Yes. And became a critical service provider, internal service provider.
Absolutely. Other than that, what happened was we also got little time to relook into our systems, policies, tools, what additional we need to do, and start gearing up for when we open, return to travel. What do we need to do that? So we got that time, tweaked around our system, worked for it, automated the RTO, return to office process, automated the pre-travel, because travel was critical. How critical it is, you need to analyze that before you let people. So there was an additional layer built in, and we automated all those stuffs also. So that gave us some time as a breather also to work and to bring in the automation there, so that, there isn't an email exchange too much of, kind of a thing. So that was the phase one kind of a thing that we dealt with.
And between phase one and phase two, I'm very curious to know, so that becomes a good takeaway for our colleagues, is what happened between phase one and phase two?
So that is interesting. Phase one and phase two, I would say start, stop, start, stop. That was what it is. So we had, got time to build in our RTO or automation. We kept it separately and not embedded it into our booking tool for a specific reason, because return to office could be a local where the travel is not required.
Right.
Okay. So we didn't embed it into it, but we had it in our tool that you have to give your RTO number, which gets validated. If it is approved, then only your ticketing gets approved. Okay.
So which means, sorry, I'm just bothering you, which means that the travel team became also responsible for managing RTO. That's a huge shift.
Exactly. RTO was managed by a separate team, but our job was just to validate. So we validated in our system whether the RTO is approved or not. RTO, again, why we automated was there were various teams involved, client team, contract team, legal team, security team, the leadership. And, to get that approval, everybody, so that was one window where you just upload one after the other, it gets approved. When it gets fully approved, then it gets validated in your travel system, a pre-trip approval. Okay.
One question I'm itching to ask you, Kunal. In this whole journey of last 1.5 years, how did the role of a travel manager shifted? Did it become more strategic? Because I think there was more spotlight on travel than any other subject. Do you want to share a bit about that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So travel initially, pre-pandemic, was just an enabler. Okay. Correct. You were an enabler for your people. But during the pandemic, you became one of the stakeholders, a critical, important component for your people to do business. For everything, you were an advisor. So you became a trusted advisor. From enabler, you became a trusted advisor to your, business leadership team, because for a business, you will need travel. You cannot automate. I remember a long time ago, we had a discussion and I did talk on automating travel in the sense, eliminating travel and bringing digitization into it. It has a very little impact. So here you moved from an enabler to a stakeholder and a trusted advisor to your leadership team.
Perfect.
Your
So we are
requirement.
now inching towards the later part of our session. So now I want to ask you to share the top tips that you want to share with our audience, that if they are going through the digitalization journey, how should and what important point they should be careful about.
Well, first and foremost, because duty of care has actually moved up. Many of them were taking it at the back end and, but that has moved up. So you need to have a robust system, travelers tracking. When you select your tool, or while you are planning to have a new tool, or if you're enhancing your existing tool, I would say be futuristic. Don't look into what you had in the past. Look for something which is, futuristic and can enhance the user experience as well as bring in control. As I said in the beginning, embrace technology before you get embarrassed.
Correct.
Periodically, you need to revisit your travel program, your travel policy, and travel tools. And most importantly, eliminate the non-value adds. Now, many things is that we add in our program, it becomes redundant, but still you go on recording and reporting such things, just remove it. All non-value add things, remove it from your program and make it a long-term futuristic travel program.
Perfect. Thank you for the key takeaways. Let's take a couple of questions that is coming on our session.
Ashish, there's one question which has come in from the audience, which is, do you think the considerations during and post the pandemic would be different for travel leaders at mid enterprises compared to the travel leaders at large enterprises?
I don't think it would differ too much, okay? Because every beat a small corporate or a large corporate, travel is important to stay in business. So things would practically remain the same. Yes, one thing I would like to add out here that, technology has a cost and small timers might not be able to spend so much onto it. There are various shared services kind of a thing whom you can reach. It could be through your TMC, or it could be through an intermediary where you can, if you do not have your own complete technology, you could use it. But I would say go in for that.
Okay.
There's another question. What kind of permanent changes do you envision in business travel in 2022, or where the pandemic ends and once restrictions would be lifted?
So my take on, sorry, you want to go ahead?
No, change is inevitable. Okay, there isn't any permanent change. Okay, you will have to adjust to the time, what comes and what is in ask. I think this will continue. There are lots of restrictions put in. Controls might be little. The additional approvals that is there, that might go away. But there are many good things that would continue for the business.
I personally think the biggest impact, the change we're going to see in a couple of years, Ravi, from 2022 to 25, is that while Indians always had visa regulations and they had to be careful about permits, and now more so there's a new dimension of pandemic to that. So travel will not undertake or will not happen until those parameters get fit, which means you have a new variable to play. Now this variable can be fixed via technology, by set of people, but the information in that angle would be very diverse. So that for me is, for next 3 years, a permanent change in the way we'll manage business travel. Okay.
Ashish, there's another interesting question. would now the top consideration be, hinging around user convenience? When they say user, it's the traveling employee, or is it to be based on the organization's convenience, right? Even if there is a slight imbalance, what would be coming on tops?
So I think if this question is coming from a travel manager, so my answer to that travel manager would be a organization's priority is user, and hence user's priority will become the organization's priority. So don't separate these two. You'll be at ease. Look at your company's policies, and your company's policies should be made around user safety and security. I'm sort of repeating myself again, but it's that simple.
Yeah, absolutely. User experience will be of priority. It will remain because things are changing. People want service on the road. The user wants service on the road. Amendments are coming, and on the go, he wants to make changes. And he doesn't want to be totally dependent on an individual. It is always good to automate things, and you can get that done. So user experience will be there, but that will be built in with the controls as well. So company controls will remain. Now, what will happen is, and this again thing is something which I've been talking for long. Don't have your policy, and that's why revisit your policy from time to time. It shouldn't be a straight line, very stringent. You have to have a box, a parameter given. People are flexible to move in that box. So controls will be there. That might be a little flexible, but user experience will be of importance.
Perfect. So Brijesh, I think we are edging towards the end.
Yeah, yes, Ashif. I think we'll take two more questions. There's one which is for Amarnath.
Sure.
With the lessons that organizations have learned during the pandemic, is there a chance that corporate travel budget would be impacted?
I don't think so, okay? Because corporate travel budget comes from your business budget. Now, yes, there would be initially a little expensive. Cost of doing business might be a little expensive because there are new regulations come in, but things would get streamlined very soon. So it all depends on what is your cost of doing business, okay? Things might be, and it is very unpredictable at this point of say, like today, if you see the hotel costs have dropped, the airlines, whosoever are flying is only a bubble flight, they have a fixed thing, but there are regulations to it. So it might take some time to settle and stabilize the cost. There might be time when things when things open up and there is a huge boom, there might be a huge variation. So there is a small spike expected in the beginning, but then it would settle down.
Thanks, Amarnath. With that, I just move to the last question. So the question is, would travel managers, in order to stay relevant in the new era, would you recommend any new skills, something that they need to focus on, which they haven't focused in the past? It'll be good to hear your views on that. Also, probably good to hear Ashish's views as well.
So, as I said, and the whole topic is all about technology transformation, digitization, automation. I think you'll need to adapt to that. And even if you have, try to notch up that, because you need to reduce your dependency and increase your productivity. And that can come from this technology itself, be it your MI or be it your any kind of, controls that you want to build in. It eliminates the error.
Perfect. So what I would add on to here, to everyone who's listening, first of all, the new skills required in the new world are very different. You cannot say, I don't understand this technology. So while you will have your IT support team, please make sure you deep dive and read API documents. If you need to read a couple of YouTube sessions, you must get into that self-learning mode very fast. So learn technology. How is it done? What is to be done? Similarly, in your supplier relationship, you need to be extremely fast and building a building a network so that you get the information first before the traveler or the senior leader. And the last and most important skill, you are no longer a junior enabler in the organization. Expect a call in the night from the CEO's office saying he needs this information. If you're not expecting it, let me tell you, in 6 months, you will either get a call of asking you for the help, or you will find yourself in a very embarrassing situation. This is very strategic. This is as strategic to an organization as a sales head or an operations head. So get into that mode that you are doing a very important job, because your decisions will define the employee safety and security implementation of the organization. So while it may be done by the HR leader, you are the one who's owning that policy. So please understand the skills required in the next 5 years. Technology, you must know. Leadership, because you are dealing with senior leaders, stakeholders. And thirdly, you must get into detailing around the environment. These 3 skills, absolutely important. Am I right, Amarnath sir?
Perfect.
Ashish,
Perfect.
I'm tempted to take just one last question. It's really relevant to the topic. So
Right.
the question to Amarnath, what changes in the travel policy are recommended due to the impact of COVID on business travel? At least 1 or 2 top changes that you foresee.
You will have to embed it into your system, many things, like the regulations are changing very fast, whether this travel is enabled or not. Like we heard about the Dubai travel and transit allowed now. Now, can you allow that? But there are still certain, and these regulations are very ever evolving and very dynamic. And keeping that, so you could actually link up with certain portals, put it into a system, so as that people are abreast about what is the latest. Also, when you negotiate, there was another thing that happened that between this was negotiation, because negotiations went for a toss. What you had negotiation that, you could give that business, we had to revisit that. There was lots of refund to be established. So have a flexibility built into your program than going in for a very fixed and rigid fare. So flexibility will come in more as an ask when you negotiate. So and there will be lots of negotiations going on. It's because things are changing.
Oh, absolutely. So towards the end, I know there's so much to talk about right now, and there's so much knowledge we can gain from Amarnath sir. I will only request everyone to sort of put down your questions. We assure you we'll come back to you over emails, asking them, giving you an opportunity. And of course, you should, and you will join our next session, which is the Top Drawer episode 2. I'm not revealing the guests right now, but it's going to be as relevant, as impactful as of this session. Travel, as per me, is inevitable. These digital meetings, what we're doing is okay, it's fine, but it's not going to create the personal touch. Human beings, all of us, are now craving for that digital connect. Markets which are open, US, UK, are already seeing quarter-on-quarter growth. So US was 20% business travel, then it grew to 40%. Now it's almost about 60%. Now with that, the travel is definitely opening. Most of the Indian corporates have now allowing, non-essential travel little bit, but it's a matter of time. If the third wave doesn't happen, we will go to a full-blown travel. And that's where the skill sets are very important. So you, as Amarnath said correctly, you should either get digitalized or you will get embarrassed. Don't get into that space. Get onto technology very quickly if you haven't started yet. Look at the new skill sets which are required. Learn from the journey of leaders who have already gone through such journey. Make sure you don't have pitfall. Create agile policies. Any knowledge you guys want on agile policy, happy to share, and give you tidbits on that. That should be the focus of everybody for next couple of months until the travel starts again. Of course, the travel will start in a very new dimension, very different dimension. Right. So those would be my closing thoughts. Amarnath sir, any closing thoughts from you to all our colleagues?
Good.
You're good? Excellent. Thank you, everyone. It was a pleasure hosting this session. Thank you, Mr. Amarnath. It was lovely talking to you. And I look forward to seeing everybody on my next episode. Thank you, ITILITE team. Thank you, Brajesh. And bye for now.
Thank you, Ashish. Thank you. Now, one small request to the audience. As you press the leave session button, there would be a feedback form that would pop up. Kindly request all of you to, fill that. It will really help us make the sessions more enriching and, very relevant. Thank you all.
Yeah, absolutely.
So much.
Yeah, thank you. Please
Thank you.
do give the feedback. It'll be helpful for us. Right. Bye.